Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune and my messy studio. I hope you could all hear me well. My mic was in a different direction. Um, so, first off, thank you all for tuning in. I'm very excited about tonight's show. Um, we're going to get to the guest in a moment, but let's get the usual stuff out of the way. Number one, I want to give a shout out to the Bean Runner in Peekskill, New York. Yesterday, they hosted a comic salon, excuse me, which I was part of, along with David Abervea, Eli Hernandez, and uh, Edwin Sanchez, who also goes by Enoch's Easel on Instagram. All fantastic artists. We had a great time talking to a pretty, crowded Bean Runner. I also want to thank Carla Ray, who hosted. We really had a great time. 2 hours talking of just about comics, our process. I wish we were able to stream it and play it live, and or record it and have it later for you guys. It was really a fun and informative piece. We also had everyone did these had their own postcard. This is mine. So there was a limited run of them. I got a few left over. That's me on the back. Uh, so yeah, we had that. That was great. This weekend, I'm going to be at Undiscovered Realm Comic Con in White Plains, New York. It's going to be at the Westchester County Center. Right off the train station, close to buses. Really, really great. I'm going to be with the Incredikids. It's the kids section. I'll be doing 2 workshops, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Both of them are about drawing chibi style characters. But I'll be having some prints and books that I have to sell. And speaking of books, don't forget, I have the Whimsical Wiz you can get on Amazon. There is the two Zorro books, Zorro's Swordplay and Romance, and Zorro's Exploits, which I both did for Old Venture Press. I illustrated two stories in the first one, in Zorro's Exploits, and one story in Swordplay and Romance. And go to kidinacomic.com. Usually I have stuff around me to show, but everything's getting packed right now for the show I'm doing. So yeah, go to a kidinacomic.com where you can read the Wiz and a bunch of other great comics. Now, I thought I was having for the first time tonight's guest, but it turns out he's a returning guest, and I did not even remember. I've done so many shows. I'm getting so old now. I'm sorry about this, but I am super excited because honestly, since I forgot he was on, I forgot everything I've ever asked him. So this is going to be new to me. Let's bring on the creator of the syndicated comic strip, The Rosebuds. I don't know if the word I forget. Or Rosebuds. He'll let me know. Best known as Supr Dee. Let's get him on here. Where are you? There you are.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I'm really excited to be here again.
thank you for reminding me. I really, so for the people who don't remember his appearance, he told me it was in 2017. Now, Get in Tune started regularly in 2020. In 2017, in that time, I was teaching and I was making videos specifically talking to artists I enjoyed talking to for my students to watch and learn about. So even though like I got to talk to, you and a bunch of other great artists during that time, it wasn't a regular show. It wasn't a regular thing. So I'm very excited, and I'm gonna have to go look up that show and remember it. I wish I remembered, so I would have gone back and seen what questions I asked.
I
uh,
mean, if it makes you feel any better, I don't remember what we talked like the questions we
the
talked about
question.
either.
it's it's quite okay, but it does make me feel better. Thanks. I thought I had a good memory. Uh, so, but anyway, your pen name is Supr Dee, and how long have you gone by Supr Dee?
Uh, I want to. So I want to technically. since middle school.
Oh, okay.
The reason the name happened was because everyone would always call me Supr Dee growing up. But one day in middle school, I accidentally misspelled super without an E, and it just kind of stuck ever since. And then ended up just using it as my online handle ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's how people obviously became to know you online and everything. So I'm sorry. Let me turn off something. I just heard a beep in my ear. I don't want to hear beeps right now. So I'm just going to close out of one of the tabs I had open. Sorry. Sillyville's watching. I've done your show too. I think I remember you. You know, it's been like 2 shows, man, but maybe 3. I don't know. No, that's David. He's been on a couple of times. Great guy. He's probably watching some kind of basketball game if basketball season's still going on. He does that and watches it while he watches this. So he's a multitasker. But yeah, no. So for those who don't know, I always ask kind of like it's the secret origin question. So tell us about yourself. How, you know, like growing up, what were some of your inspirations and kind of how you got into comics?
So my backstory is a little on the heavy side. I always try to make a warning about that. So growing up, me and my family grew up in a sundown town. What that means is, for people who don't know, is that they often would practice segregation. Me and my family were the only black family in this whole town for roughly 10 years or so. This was the early 2000s.
Okay, wow.
My dad was a retired Marine. He fought in the Vietnam War. And so he ended up stationing at this town because he was working as a truck driver for a company. And so I would go to school there. My little sister was too young to go to school at the time, but for me, I was the only black kid going to school, and teachers and students alike weren't very too kind to me. And I had a lot of learning disabilities as well. So reading, math, all this other stuff was very difficult for me. And it was also hard for me to really express myself because I was also diagnosed with, ADHD and depression growing up. So it was really hard to find myself in this kind of environment. So eventually I ended up going to the library sometime in the 2nd, 3rd grade, and I discovered Garfield. More specifically, his 6th book, Garfield Eats His Heart Out. That was my introduction to him, his character, and everything I've learned about him. And it was just love at first sight. I got engaged learning how to read, learning about art and comics through Garfield. I learned how to I really learned how to pronounce words. There was a Sunday strip where Garfield and John were driving, and John was teaching Garfield about driving stuff like, got to look both ways before turning and proceeding with caution and stuff. Caution was a word I always struggled to pronounce, but because of that strip, I learned how to pronounce it. And I felt so proud of myself. I would check out that book so much that the library permanently withdrew it for me, and I still have it on my bookshelf to this day.
That's awesome.
But not only just that, but Garfield, it's so funny to say this, but Garfield taught me how to be okay with myself. Like, he's fat, lazy, takes Odie off the table, strips normal to Abu Dhabi, all this other stuff. Like, he's a bad influence. But the thing about him is that he was okay with himself. He liked who he was, and that he wasn't going to change himself for anybody. So in some twisted manner, I found inspiration in that to learn to be okay with who I am and the things that, things that I can't change about myself, So with all that being said, with Garfield, I learned how to get into drawing. I started getting into more chapter book reading. I got into Dave Pilkey's Captain Underpants series, which was really hot, when I was in the Scholastic book fairs and stuff. That was a real hot thing to read. And so then I just started making my own comic books and things like that. And I once made a comic in the third grade, and I shared it with a friend. He laughed so hard, he fell out of his desk, red in the face, tears running down his eyes. The downside was he had asthma, but it was, at the time for me, it was I made someone smile with something that I did rather than them judging me for who I am. They saw something that I did and liked
Yeah.
it. And so at that point, from that point forward, it's always just been I want to make stuff that brings smiles to people's faces, without the asthma part.
No, that is fantastic. I mean, I listen. That's a great story, especially that you were able to connect with a character, and see, even though Garfield isn't always the most friendly of a character at times, there is positive, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a positive side to him, and I honestly, I never looked at Garfield that way. I think that was no, but that's an interesting take. Like, for me, and I got a couple of questions I want to ask you, but for me, growing up, like, and I've said this on the show, so my regular viewers know, I grew up with a medical condition, and I always kind of went to drawing and comics because I didn't participate in sports. I didn't do things that other people could do. So comics was an escape for me, and I loved the joy and escapism that comics brought me. You know, and Garfield was one of those strips that, as a kid, I thoroughly enjoyed. I had a couple of his books. I couldn't tell you, like, you knew the name of the first book. Like, he affected you that much. But I remember I had a poster, and I believe I bought it at the local Hallmark store that we had. And I actually had two or three posters. But there was one that I drew. It was on my wall, and I looked at it all the time. And it was Garfield in a car, and in the car there was a bunch of different things he just bought. I think there was like a surfboard, a TV, all these different things, and it was the line, like, we'll have fun until I think it said John takes the credit card away or something. And I would draw that picture constantly, and I loved just everything about this one particular Garfield image. And that's the Garfield I remember. Now, I've said before on the show too, I was always more of a Heathcliff fan than a Garfield fan, but I enjoyed Garfield, you know. And as I've told you, I was actually a bigger U.S. Acres fan than I was. I am dying for Jim Davis to put out a U.S. Acres book. That is all I want to see right now, is a collection of all that.
There are U.S. Acre books.
Well, I want like a new collect, because the others are on eBay and hard to find and not in great condition. But
Yeah.
let me just go here. Let's see. Well, we're going to talk about Rosebuds, but you got a question from Angel Great. Hey, Supr Dee, do you think you'll be doing Rosebuds as long as Jim Davis has been doing Garfield, aka over 50 years?
I will do it until I physically cannot do it anymore. I have come this far with it. There's no reason for me to stop now. I have set myself in stone with this. This is something I'm locked into for the long haul.
That's great. Listen, I mean, there's so many types of comic artists that occasionally get bored with it or just stop after a while or whatever. I'm glad you have something that you love and will do it for as long as you're able to. I think that's a fantastic outlook. Like I told you, one of the things I just love about, like, when I see you post, when I see you talk, whatever, there's a positivity to you that you don't see in a lot of people. I love that about you. Now, before we get into the Rosebuds, you've done a couple of other comics that actually had some popularity. Can you talk to me about your early work before moving on here to Rosebud?
Yes. So it's so funny because th- this still connects to Garfield in some way.
It's fine.
So my first strip was called Life with Karami, uh, and it was about a single mother raising her infant daughter and trying to overcome her self doubts and anxieties. Right. So in after I had these characters, or at least some form of them, in high school, and uh, even before then, I had the Rosebud sisters developed in high school, but
Okay.
I set them aside because I wanted to focus on something else for a bit. So I worked on Life with Karami in 2013. So I have to preface something, and I say this a lot because this is kind of how my this journey has become. I originally did not want to be a newspaper cartoonist. I
Okay.
I didn't want to be. I was tricked into it. A friend of mine, uh, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do after high school. I knew I wanted to do art in some way, but wasn't sure exactly what kind of art. Like I loved comics and I loved animation, but I just didn't know exactly what to do. Uh, so I met with a friend who said, "Hey, you have some real good characters here. I want to see you make something with these characters. What I want you to do is I want you to make 24 comic strips with a deadline for these, but I won't tell you what the deadline is. So you just go ahead and work on those comics and go from there." And so at this time, this was like kind of my beginning of getting into doing comics. I was working on printer paper and Pilot G2 pens to ink my stuff. So I was absolutely amateurish at it. But I ended up doing those 24 comics for him. And I reached out to him and showed him. He was like, "So your deadline was six, all 24 done in four." And that's kind of the state professional comic artists have when it comes to making comic strips. So at this point, what I want you to do now is to take these comics and send them to our local newspaper editor and see if they'll run them in our local newspaper. And at that time, I was like, I don't know if I really want to, but I, you know, guess I don't know. I'll see. Uh, but then I had the comics in my backpack when I was going for a walk, and I just so happened to stumble upon the newspaper building. So I went on inside, didn't know who I was looking for, didn't know the name of anybody, just happened to speak to a secretary and say, "Hey, can I speak to the editor of the paper to see if he'll look at my comics and stuff?" And just so thankfully, he had good half hour to sit down and talk with me about my comics. He brought me into his office and I told him my life story, what I was doing, what I wanted to do. And so I showed him the comics I had, all crumpled up in my backpack, printer paper and stuff. He read them all. He looked at them for a bit, and then he looked at me and said, "These aren't funny, but I do like the art of them. So what I would like for you to do is to take these comics, uh, make some more, and and come back to me when you have another good batch of strips, finished." And then something inside me was like, "Wait, I can actually do this? Like this is something I can actually commit. I can actually do."
Yeah.
So I took that as motivation to keep pushing for it. Like I was against doing this whole thing in the first place. So I just simply started making more strips, and every couple of months we would get together. I would show him my comics, get some feedback from him, see what see what his thoughts are and stuff, and then just keep going back to the drawing board. And it kept going a couple months after each other. Then went from a couple months to every couple of weeks to then every other week to then he was really interested in picking up the comic strip for the paper. But there was a very special final push for it. So my friend David Reddick, who creates Intelligent Life, and is currently working on the Blondie strip for Dean Young, and also does Legend of Bill. At this time, in 2014, he was still working for Jim Davis at the Garfield studio, and he knew how big of a Garfield fan I was and how impactful Garfield was to me. And he notified Jim Davis about who I was and stuff. And then Jim Davis reached out and said, "Hey, I want you to come to Paul's Inc. and come talk to me about comics and stuff," which was mind-blowing experience. Like, oh my gosh, like the guy, like the thing about Garfield is that, like, you know, for Indiana, he's basically a hometown hero, and that's one of the things I also really loved and admired about Garfield. Like, it was homemade here in Indiana. Like, it was about literally an hour away from me. There was a giant studio with like 50 artists doing different things for Garfield, from the comic strip to animation to legal stuff, whatever. And they all did it here. Like, Indiana isn't necessarily celebrated for its arts and stuff, despite having a lot of impactful things living here. Like, you know, Clifford the Big Red Dog was made here. Raggedy Ann was made here. There are artists that are doing stuff that are made here, and people don't really acknowledge that. But Garfield has kind of risen above that and has become something that people worldwide know about. And so that was something I always took inspiration from. It was like, you know, you can make it anywhere, even from in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. And I always took inspiration from that. So to be able to be invited to the place I always took so much inspiration from was just a revolutionary thing for me. And so and I remember that it was December 14th of 2014 when I went over to Paws Inc. So have you ever seen the Paws Inc. building?
I actually have. I've seen photos of it, yes.
So right next to the building, he has his own private office.
Okay.
And has like a secretary and all this other stuff. But like, when we entered the building, there was just this very long hallway with there was a door with a golden light coming out of it, like you've seen at a Hallmark movie. Yeah. And the closer we got to the door, we just started hearing this chorus come out of his office, and the closer we got, the louder it got. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I was shaking and sweating. Like, I was so nervous. And then we opened the door, and he's sitting at his desk. And he goes, "Oh, hey, D, how are you? I'm just sitting here. My kid sent me a play of some theater thing, and it was pretty stupid." And he turns it off. And so then we sat at the end of his office. Well, actually, first he showed me like 6 months of Garfield strips that no one else would have seen before before hit newspapers, which was incredible. Yeah. And then we sat at his desk. He has like a little meeting table that, like, next to a fireplace. And we sat for a good like hour and a half talking about Garfield, how impactful Garfield has been to me, and things of that nature. And so I ended up telling him, like, listen, I'm making this comic strip. There's interest in potentially picking it up for our local papers, and wanted your thoughts on it. And he read them. He was like, he gave me some really good, valuable feedback from them. But also he said, you know, I think this would be a perfect learning opportunity for you, that regardless of what you do with yourself, whether if you make comic strips forever or if you make, you know, you stick with this comic idea forever, or you go out and do something else, that this will be the opportunity for you to be able to learn more about yourself and what you're wanting to do. So he helped get the comic in our local papers, and even helped like do like a little, you know, front page story about it.
That's awesome.
We had it, the comic ran every day except Sunday. It was in the actual comics page, so it wasn't just like in some sort of section of the newspaper. It was in the legitimate comics page. It knocked out non sequitur, which is, I was so like, it felt so crazy that just this little nobody, 19-year-old nobody, knocked out a nationally syndicated strip from the comics page. And so yeah, the comic ran for about 2.5 years. Every day I was working on strips and stuff. Unfortunately, I kind of had to had to end it, at least its newspaper run, because I was dealing with a lot of life stuff, and it was really just getting in the way of me, trying to figure myself out, what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So I had to end it there around 2017 when I started pen and ink, but ended up bringing it back around 2020 or 2021 because the editor of the paper that I was, I did Life with Karami, and was also the editor of a local magazine that's distributed throughout Indiana.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you ever wanted to bring these characters back, I'd love to have them in our, in our paper, in our magazine. So we brought this, I made several years of new comic strips for Life with Karami. And we ran it for quite a while. And then once Rosebuds got syndicated, I felt that the things that Life with Karami set out to do finally happened. So I decided to put that comic to rest and replace it with pen and ink. Now it replaced Life with Karami in the magazine. But now the Life with Karami characters are now recurring characters in Rosebuds. So now they have, it's kind of like that full circle thing. They have helped me get to where I wanted to be. So this was kind of like a little bit of a celebratory thing to showcase their lasting legacy and impact on my whole career.
That is, wow. I mean, listen, that's just a great story. I'm sitting here just in awe of it. Especially your Jim Davis story. I got to say that, it's just, it's meeting one of the greats. How do you top that there? Just quickly, I want to go to some comments real quick. This is actually an interesting one because you remember the first Garfield book that you read. So what is your favorite Garfield strip? Do you have one?
I have a couple. The problem is I don't remember the dates, but I can explicitly tell you what they are.
Okay.
The first one is it was actually a week-long story arc. Garfield did not want to get out of bed. He was going to stay in bed all week, and nothing was going to stop him from doing it. But one of the days, he was sitting in bed, happily eating his dinner, and John was commenting on it. He was like, oh, how cute Garfield's eating his meal, and he looks like he's in King Nirvana, and he looks at him, and then he goes to bed with a little snack, happily eating it. And I thought that was such a heartwarming comic. Another one was when he started first walking. There was a Sunday strip where he was like, I wonder what would happen if I stood up. And he was like, oh, hey, I'm standing. And he's tap dancing, drop kicking Odie. And he tries to take his first step and he trips over himself and falls over. So those are the first two that kind of come to mind. In more recent years, there was a Sunday strip where one of the very few times that this happens, but John was at his cartooning board and he was drawing something and he just wadded up paper and threw it in a wastebasket. And he started doing all these trick shots doing it. And then once he wakes up Garfield, he's like, hey, Garfield, watch this. He tosses the wadded piece of paper into the wastebasket. It bounces off of his bookshelf, lands on him, and the paper is on top of the rim of the wastebasket.
That's great. That's great. I don't know how many I got. I think they're up there. I got I think 7 Garfield books. I think that's what I'm pulling out to read. I always try to read a comic before bed. I think tonight's going to be a Garfield.
So you see this row, you see that. So that Garfield book with the president. That's a Korean translation of it. That whole row is either Garfield or Peanuts. So there's 5 Peanuts books, and the rest of them are Garfield.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's amazing. I see you have that big Garfield. What is that? Is that a statue or?
Oh yeah, that was from the new Garfield movie. They
Okay.
were selling like limited edition popcorn buckets.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
So
I actually picked this up at Five Below. I don't know where the remote is, and for some reason it's been sitting. I have this little rolling cart next to me. I keep art supplies on and whatnot. It's been sitting on there for the last like month and a half. But have you ever seen this? It's a Garfield wall cling, and then you have a
yeah,
remote control. It like comes down, it rolls down or
yeah,
up.
yeah. Because Nickelodeon now owns Garfield.
Yeah,
They've been going crazy with the merchandising. So I've seen
yeah,
some. I've collected some. I have a couple of bobbleheads
yeah.
that's come from this. But yeah,
And I actually keep this on the side of me here.
I
It's a
have that on the.
yeah,
I have that on my couch.
I have well this yeah I use this one here. I have another one on my couch. I don't remember which one it is, but there were like 2 or 3 pillows. Again, Five Below. I was like, I walked in one day and it was like all Garfield. I guess it was when the movie came out, and I was like, I gotta have this. I gotta have this. I mean, this whole room is cartoons, but it's I was like, this is really a nice piece, and I just keep it like kind of, I lean on it all the time, like when I nice cushion on the chair. It's a very soft pillow.
Mhm.
But anyway, let's get back to the comments here. This is a nice one here. Is it Jalon? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. What is the inspiration and what is the message to your comics? Yeah, go ahead.
There is an overall theme to my comics.
Hmm.
Uh, there is a main central theme to everything that I do, and that is love. Each of my strips that I've done, Life with Karami, Pen and Ink, and Rosebuds, are actually a small fraction of that. So they focus on a very particular aspect of love. So Life with Karami, for example, was love yourself. It was about a single mother raising her infant daughter, trying to overcome her own self doubts and anxieties, trying to make sure that she's doing a good job, saying that hoping that she's doing the right things by herself, by her daughter, by the people that she knows and stuff. So it was all about trying to overcome all that to be the person that she aspires to be. Pen and Ink, we'll talk about Pen and Ink a little more in a bit, but Pen and Ink is about uh, love what you do. The sisters are artists. They love art. They want to share that joy of art with themselves and everyone around them. And Rosebuds is love those around you. Rosebuds is about 3 sisters, and they have their quarrels. They sometimes want to sell each other on the black market, but at the end of the day, they are there for each other. They love each other unconditionally, and they will be there for each other through thick and thin. So it's all about them as a collective and not just as individuals. So that's kind of the main thing, and that's where a lot of my humor comes from. Is that where is is all that?
That's a great message. I mean, really, it is. It's a great theme to work around. But I did have one question, and I want to talk about Pen and Ink quickly, and then I want to go into Rosebuds, which is your main focus right now. And there is a question about Rosebuds that I see. Don't worry. It's from Angel Great. We will get to that when we talk about Rosebuds. But one of the questions I've always been curious. Your all the comics that you've done have focused on women
Hmm.
and kind of like single parent type of stories.
Hmm.
um how first of all, what is the reasoning behind that, but also do you find that difficult to write, you know not being a woman, obviously, like people tend to write what they know and base characters, if you're a guy, you draw a lot of men. If you're a female, you draw a lot of female characters. I feel that that kind of tends to be how I see things,
Hmm.
with friends of mine, with the comics that I read, and it's very few comics that write specifically about the opposite sex.
Well, so I actually am writing what I know.
Okay.
I grew up in basically all women households. My dad died when I was 11 through Agent
Okay.
Orange cancer.
Wow.
So I didn't really have any male role models in my life. It was
Mhm.
always my mom, my two sisters, my aunts, grandmas. Uh, it was predominantly always women that raised me. So
Mhm.
that's kind of has made it easier for me to write for. It's much harder for me to write guys. That's why there's very few that show up. It's just that you know, this is what I've grown up around. This is what I've learned from,
Mhm.
and so and plus it just makes it easier just to treat them as people. They're just doing their own thing. They have their own wants, wishes, hates, dislike, stuff like that, and it just makes that easier to write for when you're trying to make you know realistic characters.
Yeah.
So
Wow. No, no, it's great. I mean, it explains a lot to me now. Like, because that's one of the things I was always great. Because your stories, they're either to me really funny or they're just sweet and heartfelt. You know, and when I read it, I'm like, how does he write like this? Like, I just wasn't getting it. And I was like, this is so good. You
so
know.
another comic that I do not give enough credit to, in because I think I personally think it's one of the best pieces of literature, especially in comics. Pat Brady's Rose's Rose.
Yes.
Uh, I I am a sucker for that strip. I have two originals, one from the Pat Brady era and one from the Don Wimmer era. That is disgustingly sweet. I love that. That energy is something
Yeah.
I've always wanted to have in my comics. Just like that tickle in your nose that makes you feel happy. I
Yeah.
get that from that comic in many ways, and I
I don't
just
know where it is.
love it so much.
Yeah.
And
No. I
so,
I can I just want to say something about um, Rose's Rose. First of all, it's one of my wife's favorite strips, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the art throughout its time, and I got to meet Don Wimmer a few years back.
oh, really?
Yeah, we have a mutual friend. Unfortunately, he passed away, but we have a mutual friend, and I tend to run kids sections at comic book conventions, or at least I was back then. And Don came to do like a little chalk talk for the kids section, and man, first of all, one of the nicest guys on the planet. I got to get him on the show once in a while. I reach out to him, and I'm like, he's just his schedule is crazy, but he was giving away like original like roughs that he would do, like and I know I have it somewhere in this room. I haven't had a chance to frame it. I just don't know where I put it. It's in one of these drawers back here, but it's on an 8.5 by 14 piece of paper, and it's just a pencil sketch, and I still got to frame it and put it up. It is one of my favorite pieces of art that I own. And I believe I got him to autograph it to my wife, but it should have been to me. But it should have
my
been.
my genuine hot take is that Rose's Rose, especially during the when Pat Brady was taking the helm of it,
Mhm.
so much better than Calvin and Hobbes. It did not get the love it deserved. It definitely got overshadowed when Watterson ended the strip,
Yeah.
and I I feel just a tiny bit of resentment that it never got the flowers it really deserved. Uh, and I'm hoping that eventually it will, because it's such a gorgeous strip. It's
Listen,
so much
it's
fun.
it's still running, so that's always a good sign, and that people still like. That's how I look at it. Like, I can look at a comic and be like, that was a funny strip, or that wasn't the greatest today, but tomorrow, was good. Be better or whatever. But like, Rose is one of those things I look at every single day, and I'm just like, wow, and it's because I'm connected with Don on social media that I see it like daily, um, but I'm just always impressed by it. And it's always good to me, you
Yes.
know, and to me that says a lot. I mean, I know you're talking specifically about more publicity for it, but I'm like, that just says a lot, that every day I'm seeing this thing and it's just as good as the day before,
It's consistent in quality.
yeah,
I can't get enough of it. I
yeah,
really, really can't. Like where and I feel like that's where it comes from. Like I specifically credit Garfield for like my art style and what I've
hmm
learned about art and things like that. But I credit Pat Brady and Don Wimmer for the humor and the heart of where my my love for just that stuff that just makes you feel, that just gives you that smile, that warm smile in your heart.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I mean, listen, that's a fantastic thing. I mean, more people should be reading. Like, one of the things I don't get enough, like strip artists on this show. I'd
me
love
too.
to get. I would believe me. I would love to. I got to reach out to more. Um, I mean, and this is something we could talk about more later. But the work you do is such a difficult you know process when you think about it, because if you're doing a daily strip, whether it's like 6 7 days a week, that is busting your butt. When I did the Wiz, and I was doing it once a week, and it was just taking too much time out of it for a once a week strip, and usually I was doing it the night before because of my schedule. Like that was, I had to get my schedule down, but it's like, it's a lot. And when I first started, I was doing 3 days a week, you know so I just know how much work and then just the amount that goes into that. But what you guys do on a daily basis and to put out consistently good quality stories and artwork, you know, I'm just super impressed, and I respect the craft that you guys do so much, so much. Um,
It, it,
uh,
it, it means a lot. I'm still the new guy on the block in the technical sense of like, doing it on a grander scale than I was doing it before. But it means a lot to hear that.
yeah. Well, I mean it 100%. Um, oh wow. Okay. I was just looking at the time. You don't have like a time limit today, do you?
No, no,
Okay.
no.
Cool. Because I always tell people, I don't know if my audience knows this, but I always tell people it's going to be an hour, but I usually go about an hour and a half, and I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. So so let's do kind of a quick. I don't want to say quick, like 2 minutes, but let's talk a little bit about Pen and Ink, because I actually really enjoyed Pen and Ink a lot. Tell us a little bit about that strip, the idea behind it, and then we'll move on to Rosebud. But
Yeah, no. So pen and ink is, and I have to be kind of honest about it. Pen and ink is all has always felt that comic idea that just never gets the opportunity it deserves. Right? It's like it's always sounds like something's really close for it to happen, but it just never happens, or something kind of delays it. So it's always in the background, kind of looming over, like we're ready when you need us, right? So pen and ink, in the general concept of the whole comic, is about two sisters named Pen and Ink. They're artists, and they're just spreading the joys of art with themselves and everyone around them. They're the only humans in this world called Canvadia, and it's in the shape of a crap. What is it called? The not the artist easel, but the thing where you put the paints. I
oh,
can't.
palette, a paint
Yes,
palette.
the palette. Yes, the
Yeah.
palette. So it's like it's a mixtured shape of a palette and a thought bubble, and
Okay.
so they live there, and they live with these kind of abstract beings called Bristolians, and they're different colors. They kind of have different personalities and stuff. Uh, they're kind of like they're kind of compared to the Toads from Mario, where like they have different colored spots and stuff, and might have
Okay.
different outfits and stuff. They're kind of comparable to that. They're easily interchangeable, and you can have substitute in whatever they need, because like the main focus is pen and ink. And so originally it was a comic book. I did like a 120 page book that was like originally for comic book issues, with various short stories that were either a couple of pages long or they were like up to 24 pages long. I kind of made pen and ink as a combatant to Life with Karami. Uh, at the time, around 2016 or so, I was getting really frustrated with the strip because I was getting feedback and stuff from people that really didn't care about the strip and wanted me to take it in directions that I really did not want to. So pen and ink was created as a way for me to go, I'm gonna do this however I wanted to do it, and no one's going to tell me how to do it. So it was kind of a means of I won't say authoritative, but more so just like I wanted to have more control over the idea that I wanted to, because Life with Crime was becoming something that I was doing to please others instead of trying to please myself.
Yeah.
So I started doing stuff. I started making comic books with pen and ink. Then I started doing like little animated shorts with pen and ink. They became like this multimedia sort of thing where I could just place them in whatever I wanted to, and they would fit in that scenario, in that situation, because they that's what the main theme of it was. Like they were just artists and they could just do artist things that they wished for. And so eventually I kind of had to dial that back. I was working on a graphic novel, and then stuff came up with that, so I kind of have that on the back burner. But yeah, then eventually, as I started getting into Rosebuds, I kind of dialed back on pen and ink as a whole. But then when I started doing Rosebuds, I ended Life with Karami, so I could make pen and ink into a comic strip, so I could keep them in relevance, so that there's still something with them going on, and they're not kind of, falling back in obscurity or stuff. So this is a way for me to allow myself to still do stuff with them without having to be too 100% committed to anything big, major at the moment, until the time is right for them to take the spotlight. And so I ended up doing I do a lot of comic book workshops for kids and adults and stuff. And I'd often use pen and ink as kind of mascot-like characters to kind of show people the ways of making characters, engaging characters and personalities and stuff.
Can I stop you right there and just say, I think I see how to make comics like book with pen and ink in your future?
I've done a couple, like they were kind of really small scale stuff, but I have done a couple of things like that, just as a means of like, here, they were sharing like little insights and stuff about what this is, and what that is, what a gutter is, and things like this, things of that nature, right? So but yeah, originally the whole concept of the strip of the comic series was that it was autobiographical. So it was made in a sense that like pen and ink were the authors of these series. Like they were sharing their stories, their life stories and stuff, and they would be credited as the authors of these books and stuff. It took a very long time for me to realize why that was a bad idea, but eventually I kind of did away with that and kind of just made it more just a narrative story of just them two doing their own thing, with me at the helm of the credits. So that way it was easier to explain to people, what exactly I was doing with these characters and what their story was about.
Wow. I mean, sometimes I don't know what to say. Like there's so many things going through my head right now when you're talking. And number one thing I will tell you right now, talking to you was so inspirational that I kind of want to end this so I can go draw and work on my comics. Like that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Like you are giving such positive, and just listening to these stories are just like, wow, man, this guy just did so many cool things. And it's like I should be drawing right now. I really should just be sitting back.
It's like, and it's so weird you say that, because I feel like I haven't really done much of any real significance, you know? Like a lot of this is
Yeah.
significant to me and how I move forward, but I guess like in the greater scale of things, like it was always kind of, for me, it's always been kind of hard to feel like it
Hmm.
mattered to others, because it was not on the same scale of like other, cartoonists and stuff. I wasn't really making a living off this stuff. I was kind of doing it because I love
Yeah.
this stuff a lot, and I wanted to push this forward and show people that what I'm capable of
Yeah.
doing.
No, I get that, but like, you know, like I'm just going to use me as an example. I did when I started the Wiz, I told you I did. It was a every 3 day. It was a 3 time a week strip, and that was back in 2018, I think it was. And I stopped in 2019 because I got sick, and I brought it back a couple of years ago. Um, but like I built a decent following online with it. Ever since I stopped the Wiz, I at least once a week I'm getting people asking me when's my new stuff coming out. You know what I mean? Like, and I and like last year I did a convention. The convention I'll be at this weekend, guys. Remember, if you're in White Plains, New York, or there by train or travel, easy, Undiscovered Realm Con. Sorry, just had to throw the pitch in there. But like, people literally
No, you're
came
good.
up to me saying, "I came to the show for you," and I didn't realize I had local fans of the Wiz. And so like for me that was really a really cool thing, but I didn't expect it, and I didn't know that the work I was doing was being enjoyed, by people that much that they're like, oh yeah, I got to come get the book, or I want an original sketch or something. You know what I mean? It was like, so you don't always know, because we sit alone in these studios and we just draw, and then we hand it off to people or just post online and wonder what the hell happens, and but I want to just go to one question right here, real quick, and then we're going to get into Rosebud. Somebody asks here, who is this? Chad Luigi. Hey, Supr Dee, are you interested in Goosebumps?
I am. I haven't read or watched the series since I was in grade school, but yo, no, like Goosebumps. What was the other one? Animorphs. Like that was like I know it wasn't horror, but it was like messed up, Uh, but yeah, no, that's stuff like that really really fun. I like horror. Uh, I can't get people to watch it with me, so it makes it hard for me to. I don't like doing that kind of stuff by myself, because I like to do it with other people, but I can't find people to do it with me, so it makes it hard to really get
Yeah,
into it.
I won't watch it with you
So
either. I'm not a, for me it's funny because I'm not a horror fan. Like I love monsters. I can look at what's it called? All the Lovecraftian stuff artwork wise, but I don't want to see it live on TV or on the screen. I'll read the comics, I'll read the old like like the EC comics and all that stuff. I'll read all it and be fine with it. But when I draw
mhm,
horror, or horror, like they're always, they turn funny, and they're funny monsters. But just one more thing
mhm.
about Goosebumps, the show I just mentioned, Undiscovered Realm Con. R.L. Stein will be there, and so will I don't remember the artist name, but so will the artist for the book covers. Um, let's move on. I know there's another question. I'll ask you this one real quick. What are your thoughts on Ed and Eddie's Big Picture show? I mean, this is obviously your era of television. Um, I mean, not that I didn't watch it, but I was like working at, I was actually animating back then when those things were on. So
Oh, so uh, the big picture show. One, I personally think it was like one of the best endings for a cartoon series to have. Like, I've always been a big fan of Ed, Edd n Eddy. I thought it was an animated comic strip. Like it had the perfect elements of what a comic strip should have: slapstick humor, good expressions, good posing and stuff like that, and just wonderful. And the the series finale was just an excellent way to tie all that up and celebrate it. So huge fan.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Chad Luigi. Let's start talking about what you're working on now, Rosebuds. And then we're going to get to Angel Great's question. Because now I got to say, before we get into that, I just need to say one of the things I really love about your work, and I see it in everything you do, but in Rosebuds, and maybe because that's the most recent stuff I'm seeing, but I love how clean your inking is and how readable everything is in the panels. I mean, you don't go into crazy detail, but like it's just beautifully drawn, you know. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
for one, just for one, that means a lot. Thank you. Uh, Two, I have to uh, I have to give a big, huge shout out of love and heartfelt appreciation to Luca Divas, who creates Wannabe. He is kind of the reason why the art has kind of turned the way it has lately, especially in the line art and stuff, because he has inspired and captivated me with his work in such a way that only Garfield and Rose's Rose has. And just like being able to work beside him, doing comics and stuff together, and so many other things. Luca, I know you're asleep right now, but when you see this, because I know you're going to see this when this is all over, you are amazing, and everyone knows how amazing you are. But his work has really captivated and helped inspire to all these improvements and stuff with Rosebuds. So we really got to give a little bit of love to him for all this. But yeah, no, I have been actually I have beaten myself over the head for the past several months, up basically over almost roughly a year, with the new art style shift, trying to figure this out in terms of like doing varying line weights and stuff, flat shading, flat coloring, all this other stuff that I wasn't doing before. It's been an incredibly big learning experience, but this has been, just such a huge change of pace. It feels like a comic strip now, rather than just like me trying to pretend it's one.
And you work completely digital these days, correct?
Yes
Okay.
and no. So when I say no, I actually have these sketchbooks.
Okay.
I actually write the strip traditionally.
Whoa, hold on. We lost him. He's coming back though. Don't worry, guys. I hope he knows he disappeared. Yeah. Anyway, in the meantime, what do I got around here? I could show you. I got a lot of fun stuff around here. What do I got here? Oh, it is a kid in a comic, a complete newspaper filled with comic strips. That's all it is. You can go to akidinacomic.com, and he's coming back. But anyway, akidinacomic.com. Go sign up. Seven newspapers a year. Great artists. A lot of talented people. Why isn't it not letting me? There we go.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I think it's going to happen.
It's okay. It happens. I had other stuff to do. I keep a lot of stuff. Next time I'll talk about one of my toys in front of me. And so you were showing us sketchbooks. You write traditionally in these sketchbooks. And now I saw they were a different size. Are they the size of the strip you work in, or?
No. They're actually I use as notebooks just so I can keep
Oh,
them in my backpack, my Flex
okay.
Maria backpack actually. So I kind of keep them in there so I can have them on me on standby if I have an idea or something. I can just write them in here. I have one for both the Sundays and the dailies. So I
Okay.
have a version of it for the dailies that has a template and everything on it.
Interesting. Wow.
So
I like that. I like that concept. Yeah.
it helps a whole lot. This way, I have my own ways of just keeping the stuff on standby whenever I have an idea and stuff.
Yeah.
If I don't have my iPad on me, I at least have the traditional stuff, and plus it just helps me keep that feeling of that the strip is still being hand drawn in some way.
Okay.
Even though I'm doing the final stuff digitally, I'm still roughing out the ideas traditionally, so it
Yeah.
still has this hand drawn feeling to it.
Yeah. And just for those art fans, what are you working in? Are you a Procreate guy, Clip Studio? What do you use?
I use Clip Studio. Uh, I still have Clip Studio 1.0 EX. It just went on sale for 60% off, so I might actually finally take the jump to 4.0 because that's really cool stuff for like lettering and other art stuff that I'm just dying to get to, but I just been too scared to take the plunge. I have friends push me like, gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it. I'm like, I know, but
I
no,
upgraded last year, I think, to was it 3? I think it was. Was
I think it was 3 because 4 came out this year.
Yeah, so I upgraded finally last year. I was on 1 point whatever myself.
Yeah, no, it's been high time for me to take the plunge. I've just been hesitant for some reason or another.
Yeah.
But I also I specifically work on desktop. I have a Cintiq 22 HD,
Okay.
so I do all my work directly on here. I have an iPad, but I mostly use that for if I have to work on it. I really only prefer to do like sketches and stuff on it because I don't like the ink on it. It just feels weird. So, but
I
then I'll
get you.
just move it over to the desktop and finish the final stuff on there.
Yeah, no, I completely I have I'm on my Cintiq right now, so sometimes when I look down, it's really because I'm just not staring at the camera that's on top of the Cintiq. But yeah, I'm in Clip Studio. I have it on the desktop. I have it on my iPad. The iPad I use more for travel. When I'm home, my iPad
Hmm.
is really a thing for me to watch videos on, like YouTube and streaming services and stuff, while I draw traditionally.
Hmm.
But when I'm on my Cintiq here, that's where I do a lot of my the comics, the finished piece, finishing them up because I do work traditionally too, and scan and bring it in. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
no, no,
I have like roughly 2 weeks of Rosebud strips like open right now.
and so you work
So I
you
get
work on
it.
multiple strips at a time digitally, or
Yeah, so basically I have a schedule that thankfully my friend Luca made for me that I've been trying to stick to because schedules and me do not work at all. So I've been trying to hopefully stick to this one because he made it. But basically the idea is that I try to over the weekend I do the writing. I write the strips out, and then I spend the rest. Technically Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are my writing phase, and
Mhm.
then the rest of that time is me trying to get those strips done. What I've been seeing recently is that I'll sketch out several strips a day, and then take another day to ink them, and then another day to color them and send them out to the syndicate. But I'm trying to rework it a little bit to be a bit more cohesive because kind of right now it's a bit of a spur of the moment sort of thing, and I'm trying to get out of that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm staying on top of it more or less. So it's working in some manner.
No, listen, the schedule is the main thing. That's one of the things. Like oh my god, I mean, I could tell you so many, not stories about me, but like interviews I've done talking to people specifically about their work schedule, reading about other cartoonists, and like it's like you said, they have, this is my writing day, this is my pencil day, this is my, whatever, inking, my coloring. It's hard to do. I mean, I try to stick to a schedule. It never happens. But I love when I get to read about them and think about how artists work. I love hearing all the process stuff. So yeah, let's move on to Rosebuds. That's what you've been doing. For how long has Rosebuds been going on now?
It depends on how you want to look at it. So Rosebud started in 2020, but it has been syndicated by King Features since last year. So a little over a year I've been doing this for them. So it's so as again going all the way back to my high school days. These characters have been with me since high school, and I put them on a back burner for Life with Cromie, hoping one day I would do something with them, and they would always rear their heads in anything that I do. I'm going, one day I'll do something with them. One day I'll do something with them. I originally I brought these characters back because I was wanting to do a graphic novel with them, and I started doing comics because it was a way for me to reintroduce myself to these characters. Because I haven't seen these characters in years. I wanted to figure out who they are, what they do, and things like that. There were some things with their relationship with each other that didn't make sense before. So how do I fix that to make that work now? Such as originally all three of them were friends. But for Rosebuds, I had to explain why Maricela was always hanging around Maria and Rosa. So I just made them all three of them sisters to just properly explain that. And it's worked out perfectly. So I thought that was a really good change in there. It wasn't really a change in a dynamic. It was just a explanation to something that I was trying to figure out. But so I started doing the comic strips to kind of just figure that, to get myself reintroduced to these characters and figure it out. Then I started posting them online. People went crazy for them. They loved them. Then Andrews McNeil for Go Comics picked up the strip. And so I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm just doing this as a comic strip now. So I focused on that for a few years under them. Then it got nominated for a Ringo in 2022. Then King Features reached out and said, hey, we really like this strip. We want to actually pick it up for syndication. And then there was a year-long bidding war between them and Go Comics.
Wow.
And then King Features picked it up, and so now it's in newspapers. And now, just as of this month, it went daily.
Well, first off, congratulations on everything you just told me. That is an amazing story. First of all, syndication is a very difficult dream, but to have two syndicates, fighting over you, that is something special, I think, this day and age. Yeah, wow.
It was mind blowing. It was a legitimate bidding war between the two of them. Like, and to be transparent, Go Comics wasn't necessarily doing much with the strip. I've talked with them about saying, hey, let's pick it up for syndication. Let's do a book or something, because people were asking for books or asking for this and that. And, just nothing came out of it. So then when King Features popped up and said, oh, we love Rosebuds, we want to do stuff with it, I reached out to them and said, hey, what are we going to do about it? We love Rosebuds. What can we do to keep it? And then, then it was just a year-long back and forth between them. So I was kind of in the mix of it, like, I don't know what to do. So I would just kind of sit back and see what happens. But I ultimately with King Features because they actually wanted to offer something. They actually wanted to do stuff with the strip. They've been absolutely vocal cheerleaders for the strip in many ways than one. And for example, like we started we so March 14th, uh, you know, for me and my readers, we dubbed it Maria Day as kind of like a little celebratory thing. Like I don't really celebrate my birthday or all this other stuff, but I kind of do this as like this is a community thing that we do together for fun and and do stuff together. And people make fan art or I'll do some sort of once a year big project and share that with the community. Uh, but Rosebud syndication has now become that yearly event because we we launched it with King Features Day.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm sorry you froze for a moment. I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
It's okay as long as you're not kicked off. You can always unfreeze.
Oh God, hold on.
Yeah. Just give it a moment. It'll refocus you.
Let me. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're a little blurry, but you'll come into focus as your
Why?
internet gets a little
No.
better. It happens. I mean, you're getting clearer, but you also look frozen now. Oh no, you're moving.
Oh,
Blurry, but you're fine. Hey, don't worry. Listen, let's just keep going and up. Never mind that. Okay, so now let's look at my action figures. Who should we see? Not really action figures, but are you guys a fan of Doctor Fate? I love me some Doctor Fate or a little Deadpool. I don't know, not Deadpool. Daredevil. I don't have Deadpool. I don't like Deadpool, so I don't know why I even said that. Or little Goku. I got all my little figures in front of me here. This is some of my inspiration that I sit around and play with while I'm trying to work. Let's see, is he back? Looks like I didn't hear a noise, but I don't see him on the screen. Let's see. Give me a second. What's going on here? Is he coming back? No, I think he left his studio. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more, I guess, while we wait for him to return. Um, by the way, behind me is that little wizard. That's the whiz I've been talking about. For those who haven't watched, there's not regular watchers. Let's see, is he returning? He is back, possibly.
give
Let's
me
see.
1 second.
You want me to put you backstage for a moment?
Just 1 second. Yes.
Okay, let me drop you backstage, and then yeah. So you can see my beautiful back wall over there. All things that inspire me, artwork done by friends of mine or people who I just love. Um, I got where's my arm going? You can never see it. There's my Calvin and Hobbes collection, and I'm going to turn the camera around real quick. Speaking of Calvin and Hobbes, sorry for that little shine. Right up there is a print of the final Calvin and Hobbes strip. And as you guys who are familiar with Calvin and Hobbes, the final strip is a snowy day, and the last line is, as they sled away, is "Let's go exploring," right? Um, as an artist, that's first of all one of my all time favorite things. But I feel like that's how I look at paper. I look at the screen when I draw. Is what's it called? It's me exploring what's around. Let me just Goku back up. He fell off the stand, and he fell off again. So let's not worry about him. But looking at my figures again, here's a little He-Man. I shouldn't hold him like that, but a little Master of the Universe. I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan. It's a big inspiration for me. Love that stuff. So you can see the difference in D and I's ages here, where he's talking about Ed, and Eddie and all those shows, and I'm talking Masters of the Universe. Good almost a 20-year difference, I would say. One of my all-time favorite gaming characters, Mega Man. So again, I keep everything around me that keeps inspiring me. I'd love to show some of my work if I can. I don't have things like set up on the computer. I closed everything out. But for those coming to the show this weekend, and Dee will be back, don't worry. This is a print that I will be selling. It's a fantasy piece of a gnome and a goblin together that I did. One of my big inspirations is, and I don't know why it's not clear, is the, you can't really see now clear, is the Franco-Belgian comics. Big Peo fan. I love the fantasy world of the Smurfs and the things he done. And let's check in on Dee. Dee, just if you can hear me, I see a little icon of you. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to come on. So he's doing some stuff, but yeah, I'm a big fan of that whole look. I get really inspired by them, and I want to do more prints, both sci-fi and fantasy based. Let's see, does he have the thumbs up yet? No, he doesn't. Another thing that I like is old animation, and this is a postcard print I'll have. I call this Space Cat, and it's just kind of an old MGM style character. I also love Jay Ward cartoons, Bullwinkle and things like that. So this is a piece. Now, this is the interesting thing for the show. I did this for a Batman gallery show that happened in the Bronx a couple of years back. But I don't sell work of characters I don't own. That's just the way it is. I'll do original artwork of them, but I won't sell prints. So I'm going to have a deal at the show. Buy 5 original prints of mine, and you can get some prints. You can get a free print. This will be one of them. Another free print will be this right here. And I know you might be a little confused. It says push rock. Why would I do that? And it says push rock like you typed it right down there. Now, the reason for that is when I was a kid, my favorite game was a game called King's Quest put out by Sierra Games. This was the original design of Sir Graham, the knight in the story. And this background is actually based off the scene where you have to push the rock, and under there's a dagger. Let's see, no thumbs up yet. I do have others. I don't know where it is. Oh, I got this little Superman piece that'll be free with, you buy a certain deal. This is him being scared of the kryptonite. Here. And then I got some of my own other stuff here. This is a print of the big one you just saw. This is years ago. I used to do a strip, not a strip, a book called Plunger Pup. It was about a dog fought crime with a magic plunger. I'm working on bringing him back, but this guy who never actually made the appearance in there, his name is Kung Fu Monkey. And so I got that. I just love that. I love that style there. This is kind of a Super Sentai piece, kind of inspired. The villain up in the corner here controlling this lava monster is kind of like Dragon Ball Z inspired, and you'd have to look really close at him. And I got this image of a girl riding the space bike, which I really really like. Um, and then there's this gorilla with a fishing pole. I thought was a fun piece. I like to draw silly stuff, make people laugh if I can with my work. So that's some of the prints I'm gonna have that I had close. Let's see, what else do I have here? Um, I'm just gonna go through this. This is everything from the show last night. Now, all the people. I'm sorry, I'm still looking for the thumbs up. Um, all of us did a postcard. I showed mine at the beginning. Oh, did he leave and come back, or I just heard a noise in my headphone? Oh, thumbs up, thumbs up. We're good. You don't have to see any of these anymore.
I'm so sorry. I planned for this to happen, and I forgot to get the one thing that I needed to make sure this didn't happen. Please forgive me.
Don't worry about it. Now I'm the blurry one. It's okay. I can fix that pretty quickly. Here's what I do. Let's see if this works. It worked when I used to use StreamYard. So what I do, if my mouse ever shows up, where's my mouse? Where's my mouse? There it is. I put myself back on. Nope, it did not work. But just to not confuse me in the way I was looking, I'm switching us back. I'll get back to normal. Yeah, it don't matter. Whatever. You don't need to see me good. I'm all blurry now. Ooh, okay. That was because I probably held up a white piece of paper and it kind of did that whole, refocus on white. Whatever. Let's get back. Let's talk about Rosebuds. Let's finally get into that. Can you, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half, which, okay, well, almost an hour and a half. There was a good maybe 5 minutes of you off camera, but yeah. See, there I am, back in focus. Can you tell us about the main characters of Rosebud?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Rosebuds is about three sisters, Rosa, Maria, and Maricela Gonzalez, and just their day-to-day life with each other as sisters, the good and bad. It's a celebration of family, of everything about it. They're there for each other for the bad. They celebrate the good in themselves. They there for the bad. Sometimes are the reason the bad happens. But overall, it's just a matter of them just learning to love themselves and each other, and being there for each other. So with each of the sisters, they have a rock paper scissors dynamic, and this helps me in the writing part of like in terms of like who is going to get the upper hand in what type of conversation, or if there is going to be an upper hand. But so for each of the three sisters, they kind of have their own archetype, I guess. I kind of don't want to say that, but they kind of fit in their own little bubbles. So for example, Maricela, she's the youngest. She's 8 years old. She's a child prodigy. She's in high school alongside Maria because she's that smart. But she is very sweet. She she's kind of the antithesis of Maria, where she's very nice and sweet, and is often kind of getting the short end of the stick because of Maria's antics, or because people kind of underestimate how small she is. But just as much as she likes learning and stuff, she also likes sweets and treats and anything edible, more or less. But she's very small, but she has that really adorable factor to her, that cuteness that makes her just like you want to pinch her cheeks. Maria is the middle sister. She's 16 years old. She has a bad case of middle child syndrome.
Who doesn't? I'm sorry. I got an older brother, younger sister. So.
I'm right there. I'm right there with you. I have an older sister and a younger sister, so I kind of right from experience with her. But she is a huge advocate of all things horror and cryptids. She wants to one day find Bigfoot in a big and tall store. She wants to hunt ghosts. She wants to find all the. She wants to live. She believes she's going to live to like 105, so she can find all the cryptids in the world. But she also has. She's kind of got a bit of uh, how do I say this? Uh, she's very eccentric. She really she kind of causes a lot of conflict within the sisters, and sort of just like she's very mischievous. But she helps the sisters kind of do things that they probably wouldn't do on their own. So she's kind of a core foundation of them, just as Marcella is. And then she also has this doll that the world knows as the world famous Plush Maria, who's kind of cursed and kind of does everything in her power to make Marcella's life disastrous. They kind of have a back and forth with each other, kind of like a good comparison would be Snoopy and Linus with the blanket. You know how they're always tussling over the blanket. So they kind of had that type of back and forth with each other. But the problem is no one else believes that she's alive. Only Marcella knows she's alive. So she's kind of doomed to fight this battle on her own. And then Rosa, she's the eldest sister. She's the core caretaker of Maria and Marcella. She is very stoic. She's very to herself. She's very reserved. She is incredibly strong, and that is because she built herself in a way to protect her sisters from all the harm and mistreatment that she had to go through growing up. So she's kind of taking on a lot of the emotional burdens that she had to go through growing up. So it unfortunately has made her into this hulking freak of nature that everyone else is kind of afraid of. Like the world around her is kind of either afraid of her or she's kind of too strong for her own good. Like there was one Sunday strip where Marcella and Rosa were at a community pool, and Marcella was splashing water on Rosa, and Rosa splashes back and creates a giant tsunami in the community pool and splashes everyone out of it. And she's kind of sulks in the water, embarrassed. But she's kind of she has a soft side to her that she's very hesitant to let loose because she's afraid that it would harm her or someone else around her. So she really loves cute things. She loves feminine stuff, but she's just too afraid to really express herself. So she often relies on her sisters to kind of do those things for her, hoping that one day that she may end up finding that courage to maybe do it herself, probably.
That's great.
And so the strip really follows along their relationships with each other, their relationships with other people, and things of that nature.
Yeah, no, I read the strip. I will say I don't read it every day, but I don't read any strip every day. There are strips I wish I did. Sometimes I kind of wait and build it up, or other times it's like I'll go to a social media page. Like I could go to your Supr Dee Instagram, which is Supr Dee 2, by the way, guys. It's not just Supr Dee, it's Supr Dee 2, the number 2. And I'll go and I'll look the stuff up, and that's how I read stuff. One strip I kind of fell off reading, but I'd love to get back into, and I know I'm behind on. One of my all-time favorite strips is Rip Haywire. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but Dan Thompson. I love the concept behind it. I love everything. I have almost all his books. I just backed his Squid Williams book. Like he for like humor adventure, he might be my favorite artist at the moment for like that type of humor adventure stories. But I haven't really read it I couldn't even tell you how long it's been. I'm probably so far behind. I have no clue what's going on. But for a while, like I've actually Dan was actually someone I interviewed years ago. I even think before you, and we talked about his strips, and we both have so many similar influences that sometimes when I'm drawing, I feel like I'm stealing, like I'm like just copying his, and I'm like, I can't put this out. It looks like I'm copying what Dan's doing. And I have this character I've been wanting to put out, Hank Harper, History Hunter, and he looks like a fat Rip Haywire, and I'm like, I can't. I have to redesign him. I have to just, so that's why he isn't out right now.
I'm personally a fan of his Harley strip.
That is so good. I have the collection behind me too. Harley was great. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry though.
No. I'm not sure. Is it still running or did he end it?
I don't know. I again, I'm behind on it, but I don't see him post about Harley anymore.
Right?
So
yeah. I loved how simple it was. It always felt like a biker Haggard.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So,
that is a great description of it. And oh yeah, that was great. But anyway, let's get back. We have a question that was asked a long time ago in this in the chat, but I wanted to wait till we talked about Rosebuds. It says, I know some fans have suggested that Rosebud sisters are probably based on in real life people or relatives that you would have known. Is this fan theory true or not?
So just like everything else in life, it is inspired by real people, by my relationships with people. Again, I have two sisters. I have an older sister and a younger sister, and a lot of the sibling stuff that you might see them have, there's stuff that I've experienced between them, between my own sisters. Like I was often the middleman in a lot of stuff, so I take a lot of inspiration for that. I will say that the sisters got their names from friends I had in high school. So there's, I like to name characters after friends or people that have made significant importance in my life. So, each of them were named after a friend of mine in high school. So, and it just kind of stuck ever since. So there's real world influences in everything, and I'm no different with it.
Yeah. No, that's a good. Well, now you know the answer. I mean, it's been I don't want to say debunked, but it's been answered. The fan theory is kind of correct. So
when it comes to like their personalities and stuff, I don't take it from just like one specific person. It's like just like everything is like they're an amalgamation of people I know, people like stuff I've experienced, personality stuff I've dealt with. Like a lot of a huge example is like a lot of the stuff that Maria personally goes through is like one of the common things that she struggles with is like she can't wash the dishes to save her life. She has ADHD. It's one of those things. I have it. So a lot of the stuff that you might see her struggle with it comes from pure experience. This is like a lot of this stuff happens. It's natural, to base this stuff off of real world things. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Let me I'm sorry, I just kind of like blanked in my head as you were talking. No, just because I enjoy listening to what you're talking about here. Now, is there anything upcoming with Rosebuds that you could talk about? Like, are you doing anything special coming soon, or you just work as usual?
Well, we had this conversation like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I would have probably told you about it going daily.
Okay.
This has been Rosebuds going daily has been in works for several months now. I've had conversations with newspaper editors saying that they wanted to pick it up as a daily feature. And plus doing it, originally I was doing the strip 3 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And originally when I was doing it at Go Comics, I was doing it 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We added Sundays uh, to get it brought to newspapers. Uh, but after a year of doing this, we were saying, it give more visibility to the strip. Also, it would help me do more writing, do more writing stuff to be able to do like story arcs or like themed weeks of stuff with the sisters instead of just doing like two different strips and then calling it a day. So now by having it being daily, I can actually start focusing on more things that branches out their characters and their relationships with each other and things of that nature. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of work,
Yeah,
but
well, I was going to ask you what is, I know you're talking about this new schedule that you're trying to stick to, but how has moving daily like really affected, I guess your life? I mean, it completely changed, I'm assuming, from, a
it,
3 day a week strip, your work methods, things are changing now, right?
it so again, I'm lucky I had the experience of doing this with Life with Karami before.
Mm.
Uh, so I had a little bit of muscle memory of like how to handle it. Uh, at the same time, though, it's a lot. It is especially the Sundays. The Sunday strips is what gets you. It's those are what I've dubbed a euphoric nightmare. They are so much fun to do. They are a lot of work, and there are some weeks where you just like I kind of want to phone it in a little bit. Just give me a
Yeah.
simple gag to write and just catch it done and just
Yeah.
call it a day. But no, yeah, this has quite frankly become a full-time job. uh, Focusing on doing the strip daily now. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, and it's a lot more work than uh, I won't say I was expecting, because I was expecting this to be a lot of work, but also it was like, there's a lot more to it than just making a comic strip.
Yeah.
You especially if you're going to do it, do stories where they follow up on each other. Like I've done three, maybe four weeks of strips that are themed weeks where it's all just like one full week of a story. Like just this last week, it wasn't necessarily a story arc, but it was a themed week of uh, Maria was has a vendetta against dandelions. So she so the strip was talking about her past, about why she hates dandelions so much, and dandelions actually hate her back. So they're threatening to break her legs. She's trying to kick them. They have titanium steel coating on them, so she's hurt her feet trying to kick them, and all this other stuff. But it's like it's allowed me to do more with them than just doing it 3 days a week, where it was just like I had to think of just something to do and then go from there. But now I can actually develop them more and find more about their relationships with themselves or each other or things of that nature. And it's been fun. It's been a whole lot of fun. Like this has been something that, like, quite frankly, like you you don't get to see this often. Like this evolution with Rosebuds from it becoming just a simple comic. I posted on Facebook a couple of times, and then for it now to be nationally syndicated daily, you know,
Yeah.
uh, within like 5 years, that's a pretty big turnaround.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you don't mind me, how many papers are you in right now being syndicated?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. At least not yet. Just because they're for one, because for the past year we were only doing the Sunday feature. We were only selling those to newspapers.
Mhm.
Uh, Quite a few number of Indiana papers picked it up for the Sunday paper, and I know that there were some outside of Indiana that picked it up. I know the Seattle Times picked it up, which was neat
That's
to
cool.
hear. Uh, but I don't have the exact numbers, and then now that we're going daily with it, it'll open up much bigger windows of opportunity to get it into more newspapers.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll find out a number. I don't know it yet, but it's in places. I know for sure. I know I once had a conversation with someone that knew the former president of Napoleon Entertainment that said that he was reading Rosebuds in California. So
That's that's awesome. That is a
yeah,
fantastic thing to hear.
so no, this has been it's been everything that I have dreamed of. The
Mhm.
thing that I've been working, 10 years towards. Like this is something I was just, I'm so honored that people, King Features, and everyone is giving me this opportunity to do this because as well as I know, like new comic strips in the modern age of syndication is such a rare breed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and but also to be syndicated, in actual print. I mean, I know some people get picked up and it's, on sites, and it's on other things. Some people are just like online syndicated and not going to print, just from people I've spoken with. So you were talking about talking with newspaper editors. So to understand that, or to know that people are like, hey, this deserves print, is just a special thing. I mean, listen, I think most cartoonists my age uh, have dreamt about syndication. Like when I was a kid, that was my goal. It has kind of changed a bit since
Hmm.
since then. But I was never somebody who wanted to be like, I want to draw superheroes for Marvel or DC. I just want to tell my own stories. And whether it was in book format or strip format, it never really mattered to me. But because of my influences, I see myself more as a strip artist, you
Hmm.
know? Um, and, I mean, it's, I'm syndication is always, in my head as, a target, but it's never like, I'm not at the point in my life where like if it didn't happen, I'm going to be upset. It's things change, things go, and I have a nice, I have a nice art career. I have, fans, I have things, and I'm getting to draw the stuff I like. So I don't hate what I do.
Hmm.
Um but it's just, I'm always happy to hear, stories like yours, or just people who work hard. Like if you guys out there watching know the strip Sour Grapes, have you seen the Sour Grapes comic
Yeah.
strip?
Oh my gosh, he's a beast.
Yeah,
Like
Tim. First
he's
of all, Tim's a good friend of mine. Can I tell you, he self syndicates that strip, and if I remember correctly, he's in over, I think, 60 newspapers now.
last I heard it was 40. Oh my gosh.
Oh, maybe it's 40. Maybe I'm upping it. I'm sorry, Tim. If you're watching and I'm lying, please let me know.
But
But I
no,
thought he said it might have gone up to 60, but I could
I
be wrong.
with the way he works, I would not be surprised at
Yeah,
all. Like
and it's a fantastic strip. It's really good.
so yeah, no, he's doing phenomenal with it. Like
Yeah,
I like that was one of those things like I want to know how the heck he's doing it because
yeah,
he's doing everything correctly and not needing a syndicate for it. Like
yeah.
not too many people can say that.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I've had private conversations with him. Like, you got to tell me your secret. You got to tell. You gotta, like, yeah, that was actually a strip he wanted to work on with me, but it wasn't my type of strip.
Mhm.
Um, but I hope he continues with it and tries it out, because I think it would be another great idea.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and it's because we have similar backgrounds and things, but I think where the writing would have come in, our ideas are different. I didn't want to clash. He's a good friend of mine. I don't want to clash with him and cause problems. So that's why I said no to it. But I if he finds someone to work with, or he just starts to, I'm like, that is going to be a fantastic I mean, really fantastic strip. I'm not saying anything about it other than that because I don't know what he's working on or wants out. But yeah, no. If for you Instagram people, Sour Grapes 2017, I think is or is it Sour Grapes Comic 2017? I don't know. Just look that up. It is a great strip, and he does it all himself. Everything syndicates, does it in color and in black and white because some of the papers run it in black and white. So,
Yeah, that was one of the things that once we've gone daily with the strip, I actually had to do was format the strip for black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a real fun experience to do. It's like, okay, how do I? It's a lot easier too, if I'm being honest, because picking out colors and stuff. I hate coloring. So,
I'm colorblind, so yes, I don't like it either.
I've had to like, you know, when Rosebuds was first brought over to King Features, you know, it was like super shaded, like there was lighting and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, it's like, I can't do this. This is too much work.
Not daily, you know.
Oh God! Imagine having to do that daily. I'm already sitting here joking about, oh yeah, I can feel the carpal tunnel in my bones. I would absolutely be feeling if I had to do shading.
Yeah. When I did the Wiz, it was all flat. I'm not. Very few things that I shade just to add emphasis to something, but it was all flats because that's how I grew up influenced. It was all the strips I read. Everything was flat back then. You know.
Yeah, no, I don't even remember why I got into shading, but I now that I've stopped it, I'm like, I don't know if I can go back.
But I will say that I think you posted it on Facebook or I don't remember, but you were showing the difference between your black and white strip and your color strip. And I love that you're going through halftones in the black and white to really give it that old school comic strip feel.
Yeah, and I think that's just that's the best way to do it. I know that in the traditional sense, it's a lost art because there are companies that are barely doing screen toned materials anymore, and I've never played with it before. I actually was gifted a case of it for Christmas, but I haven't used it yet because I don't know how to use it. I'm too afraid to mess it up.
It's not that it's difficult. I've actually played with it many years ago. We're going back, I think, somewhere in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. When I was in middle school, so it had to be late 80s, I took there was this this guy. He was a cartoonist, he was an artist, he did a bunch of stuff, but he had art classes out in his basement, and I could be sitting there like I was 13 or whatever, and I could have like an 8-year-old next to me and a 40-year-old next to me. You know, he just is whatever, and they could be doing painting or what. But he had some Zipatone there, and basically it's, you cut a piece, you put it on, and then you very carefully cut around it so you don't screw up your artwork with an X-Acto knife. And then there's this like burnisher tool type of thing where you rub on it to make sure there's no like air bubble. I don't know. It was a process, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll stick to pen and ink, and that's. But yeah, I mean, listen, Clip Studio makes toning so much easier.
Yeah. No, I love Clip Studio for that alone too. Like, every time I'm working in, I'm learning something new about it. Like my friends recently showed me like, oh, like I was originally doing my comic panels manually for both the Sundays and the dailies, and then they're like, you could just like make a strip, just like a long rectangle strip, and then there's this tool where it says divide panels equally, and it will divide four panels at exact same sizes. And I said, why didn't I know about this sooner? And I just started doing this 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's how I did the Wiz. I went into Clip Studio, and I had a template that I made when I was doing it in Photoshop, and I was drawing at like 5.5 by 19, I think it was,
Hmm.
and because I just wanted to draw large, and also I read that's how big Charles Schultz drew at one point, and I'm like, well, he didn't do too bad for himself, so let me use his measurements. But it was nice because if I used it for other stuff, and it was large enough that I could put detail and stuff in if I wanted to. Um, and but yeah, that's exactly how I did it. If it was a 3 panel or 4 panel, and I would figure out, because I, for some reason, I can't change it to inches. It's always pixels, so I'd have to figure out what size gutter space I wanted in pixels.
You can change it to inches.
It wasn't letting me. I don't know. I it might have been a glitch, and but yeah, I'd be like, oh, six. I think it's 64 pixels is equal to uh like a quarter inch or something,
Hmm.
which is traditional gutter space. So I would do that.
So I work on Rosebuds incredibly big. Like it's I'm looking at my dimensions right now. So for my dailies, it's 20.25 inches by 650 at 600 DPI.
Wow.
So I work incredibly big, and sometimes my computer chugs because of it. But it's because I just want to make sure I get enough of the details and stuff I need.
Yeah.
So when it shrinks down, it looks fine in newspapers. And so it hasn't failed me yet for the Sundays. So
Yeah. 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 No, that's. Listen, you got to do what you have to do. It's the computer is a fantastic tool. Um, I'm not one to try to do everything on the computer because I still like to feel the
Mhm.
supplies, and I like getting my hands dirty, and the computer's too clean. But it's great to do the finishing pieces, in my opinion, on there. But I see so many beautiful comics every day that I can't even tell these days sometimes if it's done traditionally or digitally. It's people just have mastered these tools and brushes and whatever. It's like, oh my god, it's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. Now, I do think we need to start wrapping up soon because we're almost at the 2 hour mark. But there's um maybe definitely one more question. Maybe we'll get to the second one. But I wanted to talk about something that's very special that recently happened to you. About basically almost a full week of gifts you were given. Uh, you are thoroughly, it seems to me, thoroughly loved by the Garfield crew, the Paws Inc. group, and you were basically gifted a week of Deon Garfield strips. Can you tell us about that?
So so on I'm still over the moon about it, like because uh, that it what was so special about that was it happened like I was actually the following week I was talking about Rosebuds going daily, uh, but that following week we just ended up spending a week with Garfield.
Yeah,
So Glenn Zimmerman, who's a cartoonist at Paws Inc., he's retired now, but he was an animator. He worked on a lot of the Garfield specials. I don't know in particular. People will know his particular work. You have you ever seen Garfield Gets a Life? Uh,
I
there's
don't think so, but I've probably seen the like trailer. Like I watch a lot of like, uh, you know, animations to come. Like I try to pay attention to that.
you probably know the dance sequence of John Arbuckle, getting down on the dance floor. Uh,
Okay.
in like he's in a tuxedo and he opens up. There's like a little Garfield tie, and it's playing the Temptations, "Shake Your Paw." So he was responsible for that dance sequence in particular. So people who may not know his name will recognize his work. Uh, but in particular, so he ended up surprising me. He reached out to me on Monday. It was like, "Hey, do you have a surprise for you?" I was like, "Really? What's that?" And so a he sent me this strip of John's like, "Hey, I want you to meet my friend and local cartoonist Deon Parson," and it had me in the strip. But like I was towering over Garfield and John as well. And I was taken aback by that. And since he didn't have he's not really big on social media. I posted about it to share it with everyone because I was like, this is an incredible thing and this is so cool. And then he ends up telling me, I have more strips for you, but you gotta wait till the next day to get it. So I was like, oh, okay. So so basically every day that week he said, here's today's strip, and sent me another strip. And me meeting Garfield, the whole week was of me meeting Garfield, hugging him, getting his autograph. It was just a surreal experience. I shared it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook because people know how important Garfield is to me. So just to have this special opportunity of spending time with the guy that has made me who I am today was a very special moment. Like, it's not an official comic in the sense of like it was in newspapers or things like that, but it was just a special little side thing that he just wanted to make that I was just so honored and privileged by, and I just love that so much. So I had me squeezing Garfield as my profile picture on some accounts because I was like, that's the pinnacle,
Can I say I think that's my favorite strip he shared, where you're like hugging Garfield, and I forget what Garfield says, but he's not happy. He's not happy. And that cracks me up. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant.
Yeah, no, it was so fun because I was like, in the strip, I was like, I'm a huge fan, and he was like, emphasis on huge.
yeah, that's it. I was like,
but I'm glad that he was at least willing to give me an autograph. He doesn't do that for too many people, so I'm really honored by that. And you get to say I'm John's friend too. That's so cool.
I know that's well, you get to say it too now. Well, first of all, congratulations. I think that as a cartoonist, when you're gifted something from another cartoonist, I think that is one of the highest honors you can have, and that it was done through the character that you love the most. You know what I mean? Like that was just a special honor.
Yeah. So like, I can take this down, but like Gary Barker is an assistant on the Garfield comic strip, and so when Rosebuds got syndicated, I got this really special crossover art with Rosebuds and Garfield, and then even Jim Davis signed off on it, which was like a very special circle. It felt like a full circle moment in the world of like the character and the creator I was so inspired by all these years. Now we're colleagues. We have comics. Our comics share the same comic spaces and stuff. Like that is so cool.
No, that is awesome. That is fantastic. Before we go, I just want to ask one more question because someone has it here. Is that I don't know how to say that. Like it's something 4,000. Are the sisters from Rosebuds Mexican or Argentinian?
They're Mexican.
Mexican. Okay. That's good because I that was the other thing. All your characters are of Spanish descent, it seems. Is that something that you are as well, or?
So with Rosebuds in particular, so after my dad passed away in the city that we talked about earlier in the podcast, we ended up moving closer to family. And so we ended up kind of living in low-income Black Hispanic neighborhoods. So I was really familiar with those environments. So I really grew up in those, and that's kind of where that part of Rosebuds came from, was just that type of upbringing.
Interesting. Wow. Well, no, listen, that I meant to actually ask you about that earlier. I just forgot because we've been sidetracking and talking about so many things. And, I mean, listen, you're a young guy. You know, I know you mentioned to me your age earlier. I don't know if you want to say it on the air,
Yeah,
but
no, I think, for my age, it's kind of important. Like, I'm currently 29. I'll be 30 next month, but uh, I'm currently the youngest person in the nation doing this as a syndicated newspaper feature.
that's what I was going to say. And you started. This is everything that you've done. You got to realize is really a 10-year career. You started at 19, getting your so to get where you've gotten in 10 years is amazing. It's unbelievable. And and like you said at the beginning of you didn't know, you kind of got tricked into doing this. You didn't know this is what you wanted to do, or even if you wanted to do it, you just wanted to do something with art. And here you are 10 years later. That is something not only just to be proud of, but just speaks a lot to your dedication to the craft, your writing, your ability to communicate with others, and like meaning how your characters communicate and connect. And that is one of the greatest things you could do, or what we all strive for as a cartoonist, is to make sure our characters become connected and loved by other people, that they want to come back and read the next strip. And
That
you've been able to do that.
it means a lot. Like, seriously, like, I do not take any of this for granted. Like, this stuff can be, as hard as I work for it, it can be taken away just as quickly. So I really try to showcase just how grateful and honored I am that people have, you know, made have supported me for as long as they have, for as strongly as they have. And, there are much better people that they could be spending their time on supporting and stuff. But I'm so grateful that, people talk with me or show support to me and are cheering me on. And, like, this isn't just for me. This is for everybody. Like, again, we talk, like, for Rosebuds in particular, this is a testament to just, like, there is still blood. There are still new blood in newspaper comics. You and I
Yeah.
both know, like, there's a unspoken problem about comics living past their expiration dates.
Yeah.
And not giving opportunities to new cartoonists to come in and share their voice and stuff. And not only that, but with the age of web comics and social media, newspaper comics kind of get pushed to the side as an afterthought. And if you're not Garfield or Peanuts or Kathy or, I'm trying to think of another strip in particular that is it, Calvin and Hobbes, I guess. That's in the collective conscious of people that they will recurrently talk about. Everyone else kind of just, are pushed to the side. So I'm hoping that Rosebuds helps bring in a new generation of people to, one, be passionate about newspaper comics again, but also for people to see that there is new stuff coming in. Like, for example, like, so I have a newspaper that has Rosebuds in it, right? It's so cool to see this. It is
Yeah,
so
that's
cool.
awesome.
This is one of the coolest things that I can ever experience. The thing is, though, with this newspaper in particular that I have, there are 3 comics that were made after the year 2000 that's being published in that paper, and Rosebuds is one of them. And I think that's something that needs to be discussed a little more. Like, there needs to be more celebration for modern stuff, for stuff that is bringing, that are trying to do new stuff and to bring in a new wave of cartoonists that are trying to do this sort of thing. And uh, King Features is definitely doing their part of showcasing that. Like, they're really, really advocating for Rosebuds. Had a talk with the editorial director because she had some ideas for Rosebuds that were really neat. But she talked about how the strip is a celebration of newspaper comics because of what I'm doing with the strip, what I want to do with the strip. What's so cool is, like, I'm very active online. There's not too many newspaper cartoonists that are active online or have an online following of people that are following your stuff. Rosebuds has that.
Yeah.
So I use that to share behind the scenes stuff about comic strips, about my process of making comic strips, how it feels to be a newspaper cartoonist in the great 2025, you know, like stuff that people probably once wouldn't even think about having these types of discussions. And I like to have this stuff because I want people to understand like this is what it takes to do this, and what what others can get out of it. Because for a very long time it's felt like the old guard, they pulled up the ladder behind them and kind of
Mhm.
left everyone else kind of straggling on how do we get to be a part of it. So that's why I'm trying to be as vocal as I can about this sort of stuff, because someone has to.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess right now it's going to be me until other people start showing up and talking about their stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that, I mean, listen, that's a great point of view, because I mean, listen, I know a bunch of cartoonists, and I'm not just talking about like, people I hang out with, who do like comic books or whatever, because most of my friends that were comic book artists. But I know syndicated cartoonists. I know, just people who do web comics and everything. And it's really the web comic artists that have the online presence. They're the ones with the YouTube channels. They're the ones with, the Instagram or whatever social media page. But the other ones that are more old school, they may have a Facebook page, they may talk, they may say hi, they may comment or post, but very few of them are actively interacting with social media, with fans, with whatever. And it's I mean, I get it, to a point, but they were here before social media. They have a lifestyle, like, I was here before social media, you know what I mean, like the computer era and stuff. It's when I got into the industry in 94, that's when like computers were being introduced to graphic design and to all those different fields,
Hmm.
so they it might have been a year or two earlier where it was like that it's really getting, you know mainstream to use a computer. But
Right, right.
you
But
know
yeah, like with modern day artists that are doing stuff online and stuff, I do think I'm in a very unique position to be able to have a comic strip that is both read online and in newspapers, and there's a lot of cross referencing between the two. Like I have people that'll come and say, "Hey, man, I read your comic all the time on Instagram." Between us, I hate posting on Instagram. I only do it because people read the comic on Instagram. So I just
exactly.
it was it was originally just a passover from when I was posting the comic on Webtoon, and I hated
Yeah,
posting on Webtoon more than I hated posting on Instagram. But you know, people wanted a way to read the comics, so I just started posting on Instagram, and it's starting to catch up to my Twitter following. So like they're kind of back and forth, but I engage with it all because you know that sort of personalization is important to me. Just like
yeah,
you are taking time out of your day to read my stuff and comment and share this stuff. Let me, share my appreciation for that. Unfortunately, I can't comment on it. I can't reply back to everybody, but I want people to know that it is seen and appreciated in every sense of the word. So that's why I try to be as vocal as I can, and I try to be as supportive as I can, because if they're going to take their time to do that for me, there's no reason why I can't take that time back and do it for others.
that's awesome, man. Listen, I think we should wrap up here because we could totally go a lot longer. No, listen, I'm really enjoying talking to you. Like, I'd love to meet you one day in real life and like sit down and like have a meal with you and just talk comics.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. I mean, you're in Indiana, I'm in New York. It's a little hard, but maybe you'll get out to a con here one day. I don't get out to. I actually haven't left the East Coast in my life, so except for one business trip to Spain. But there is a convention I've been wanting to go to. I think it's in Indiana, so There's
Tell me what it is. I might have a few connections here.
Oh no, it's not for. It's me to visit. It's VoltCon. It's a Voltron convention. Just I'm a huge fan of like I was saying when you disappeared off the screen. Like there's a big age. Like I picked up a He-Man little figure, and I'm like this was one of my biggest influences. You're talking about Garfield, and I see the Kirby thing behind you, and
I
and
love Kirby.
and like you and I, such difference in in time periods here, but like yeah, I grew up on Voltron and all those cartoons from I was born in '76, so the '80s was my era really of cartoons, and those are the big things that inspire me, So like I look at my work, I had to describe my work for this thing I did last night, the comic salon. And when they asked me to describe my work, I basically said it's a modern take on classic themes and styles. That I'm trying to think of the exact words that invoke nostalgia in my viewers. That's kind of how I look at it. So everything I do is kind of based off my childhood love of different animations of comics, whatever it is, So yeah, that's kind of how I approach comic making, But yeah, with that, like I said, we'll meet one day. We'll stop, we'll grab a meal, get a good burger or something, or pizza. Well, if you're in New York, we have to get you pizza. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. I want to thank you all for watching, whether it's live, whether this is a recorded version. I really appreciate it. Once again, if you are in the New York area, in White Plains, New York this weekend, I will be at Undiscovered Realm Con with some artwork, books, prints, whatever, and I'll be doing some drawing in the kids section, teaching kids how to draw chibi style characters, and yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. I'll be back with another guest next week, but most importantly, I want to thank Supr Dee for coming on, telling us his story, sharing everything with us. A big congratulations, for being the youngest guy right now doing what you're doing. I really am a fan. I mean that a lot. It has been very inspiring talking to you because, like I said, it makes me want to go draw right now. And yeah, make sure you follow. Is all your stuff Supr Dee? All your social media for people?
It's it's Supr Dee 2.
Supr Dee with the number 2. Okay,
yeah.
Supr Dee 2. So yeah, you guys, thanks again. Thank you, and just hang out for a minute. I'm gonna end the stream. I just want to talk offline, but yeah, guys, I seriously really appreciate everything. And if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you like this video, give it the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Don't miss a Get in Tune. There's more stuff. I'll be starting to live stream after this convention again, so you'll be getting to see me draw and talk about projects and other stuff I'm doing. So yeah, you guys, I'll see you later. I can just go on and on. All right, bye guys.